2 rounds ago, we had 2 cars slamming doors as they raced for the win at Charlotte. We didn't think such a finish could be beat until last round, where 3 cars slammed into each other coming to the line at Pocono. Will we see 4 cars spanning fenders coming to the line tonight in Michigan? With the finishes that this track has produced in the past, don't count it out. Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's coverage of the AdPro 360 Challenger Series Dirty Air Studios 200, live on the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes we have our director Joe Peak, and he's using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, Michigan is certainly as unique as far as ovals go, and a lot of it is due to its size.
It really is. You know, the size, the banking. I mean, you can call Auto Club Speedway down in California its twin. I mean, they were modeled off each other. They were both owned by Penske at the time when California opened, of course. But it doesn't have the same feel as Michigan because of the various things, you know, the banking, like I brought up earlier. I mean, we're looking at 18 degrees of banking here for today. Of course, our track length is about 2 miles. Michigan's been around since 1968, and man, has it seen some fantastic races over the years, some great battles as far as fuel and everything else. Will they or won't they make it? Some great battles to the line. Who can forget Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. fighting each other for the first time in an IROC race here way back in the 90s. It's just a place with a lot of history out there. And of course, also we're going 100 laps here for today with a couple of different stages. So that's going to be something we'll keep an eye on. Of course, we're also being brought to you here for today by Dirty Air Studios. Dirty Air Studios is an iRacing media production company. They provide top-of-the-line professional videos, graphics, pictures, and paints for all things sim racing. Visit them at facebook.com/Dirty Air Studios. All right, so let's go ahead and take a lap around Michigan, show you how this Palace of Speed feels going around.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Brian Yazik, taking you for a spin around the Michigan International Speedway today in the GSRC Chevrolet Camaro. My home track, located in the Irish Hills of Michigan, about an hour's drive away from the Motor City, Detroit. For getting the car wound up, you're going to swing it up here, right up next to the fence to get your qualifying lap done. Off into turn 1, you're going to lift right about where that safer barrier starts. Let it roll out to about half throttle, back up, and you're going to ease back into it. You don't want to get the car below that seam right there, or else you will spin out pretty much 9 times out of 10. Aim for that crossover gate out of 2 and back down the backstretch. Off into turn 3, very easy to overdrive. My mark is that caution light right there on the wall. Let it float to the bottom, 3/4 back into the gas all the way. Let it drift way out here on corner exit, build up a lot of speed. You're going to see guys in the race run right down here as it progresses, just because it's a good draft block and it really kind of stops the momentum of people trying to get around you. Back off into turn 1 again. Aim lifting on that safer barrier. Let it float. Don't get back into the gas too quick or the car will kind of do a 4-wheel slide out of the corner like it kind of did for me right there. Back down the back stretch, watching that 3M logo flash by. Off into turn 3. Careful not to overdrive it. Lifting right about at that caution light. Back all the way out of the gas as the run progresses. And you're going to roll back into the throttle very, very smooth. Smooth as silk. That's going to be the best way to get around here. Off of turn 4, down the front stretch, and across the line. That's going to complete our track guide here around the Michigan International Speedway. I'm Brian Yazik. This was the GSRC Camaro at Michigan. Enjoy the show.
Well, that's what one single car run looks like around here. We've actually just been watching 20 drivers do single car runs around this speedway over in qualifying, of which some of the top championship contenders are competing up there. And sitting on the provisional pole right now is Trey Galgan, a driver who has already locked himself into the playoffs with a win so far this season, Adam.
Yeah, you know, and a couple of real fast guys. I mean, of course, you brought up Brad Lahoff sitting right now 4th on the provisional speed chart. Galgan right now sitting on the provisional pole. Campbell up there in 2nd. These are a lot of big names here in this series. I mean, and I'm anticipating a very strong race. I mean, I heard about Pocono. I'll admit I didn't get a chance to go back and watch the Pocono race, but I heard about the Pocono race, and I would not be surprised to see that kind of finish here today.
Yeah, so let's take a look at our point standings here, Adam. Once again, a win locks you in. Some drivers have got that under their belts. Other drivers got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, you see the Trey Calgon up there in the lead. Gerald Campbell there in second. And, of course, they're sitting 1-2 on the speed charts right now, as I was talking about just a minute ago. Adam Eisenhower out there, he's got this I like Ike thing on the hood. Be watching for him out there. Now, the guys shaded in green are the guys that have won races here for this year, and they're already in. So you're going to be looking at guys like Gabriel Wood, like Mark Clewell, William Davis. They're going to be the guys who are really trying to get that first win of the season and lock themselves into the chase.
And you see the numbers on the right-hand side in green there, where the bonus points they will be awarded if they are able to make the playoffs. But getting there first, that's going to be the hard part. Who is going to be able to lock their name into the playoffs at the end of the season tonight? We'll see if we can get a new winner. Here you go. We're currently at round 10 of this 16-round regular season. 7 playoff rounds at the end of the season. These drivers racing the Xfinity cars with a fixed setup, but they do have limited tire and fuel allotments. 5 sets of tires throughout the course of a race, including the set that they start on. The fuel tank is limited. They can only do about 30 laps before they've got to come in for some more gas. If you cause 2 accidents during a race, you will be disqualified. And if there's a caution with 3 or 4 laps to go, do not tune out, because we will have a 2-lap shootout.
Yeah, these guys do try to fit as close to how the Xfinity Series runs in real life. That's how they're trying to mimic here in the AdPro Challenge Series. So that's going to be very interesting. And I think we've seen that already a few times this year out of these guys, too, about those green-white checkers and everything else. Now, one thing we do want to get to also here, I'm waiting to see if anybody is still on the racetrack there, Sam. And I think we're going to be safe to award the pole award here. Yeah,
it looks like the round 10 winner of the Sim Speed Shop Pole Award is Trey Calgon. For every 2 poles, a driver earns $5, and the driver with the most poles at the end of the season earns $20, courtesy of simspeedshop.com, which is a great place to order custom button boxes, as well as to buy and sell used equipment. For more information, go to simspeedshop.com, and I have a feeling I might be checking them out after today's broadcast, Adam. I'm in the market for a new steering wheel.
And I need a button box. Oh, man, we're trying to do the Indy cars right now in the series iRacing. Oh, I need a button box bad. Okay, so we mentioned here for the series, we've got about 14 seconds left before these cars will start to grid. That's going to be one thing that you'll see here for today that's a little bit different than some of the other NASCAR series that we call, is that they do actually mimic the stages. We will see stage 1 of 25 laps here. We will see stage 2 of 25 laps. And the final stage, Sam, is going to be 50 laps running to the green. And a field run mixes in really nicely with that, Sam. I mean, 25 to 30 laps. I mean, it's going to be very interesting, possibly in the final stage, to see who pits win.
And never, ever in the history of Michigan International Speedway has fuel mileage ever been a concern at the end of a race.
Nah, never. Ever. At Michigan has fuel not been a factor.
All right, well, we tell you what, we told you our poll said there was Trey Calgon. There aren't any more cars on track. Let's go ahead and start reading down this grid now, since I'm only going to have 1 pace lap. It is Trey Calgon on pole position by about 0.05 of a second over Gerald Campbell. Josh Bomwell, haven't mentioned him yet, in his number 56 yellow machine. He'll be starting 3rd place, just a couple hundredths ahead of Brett Laderhoff. Eric Stanford will be starting ahead in 5th place ahead of Daytona winner Adam Eisenhower in 6th. Mark Clewell and Jeff Martin on row 7 ahead of Richard Regan Jr. and John Theodore.
Yeah, going up to 11th position, Gary Sexton will be up there starting on the inside of row 6. Outside of row 6 going to belong to Mike Donahue. Ellery Queen in row 7. Alongside him will be Michael Dullard. Danny Rogers and Kyle Kammer are going to make up row 8. John Leday and Robert McFarland make up row 9, and Scott Seaman and Michael DiMacchio will make up row 10. And Sam, it's just the top 20 that put down times.
Yes, so rounding out the field behind him, we will have Andrew Payne, Mark Jackson, Will Davis, Mark McFadden, and Jeremy Crandall. And all 25 of those are in the session, which is good news considering there was some serve issues going on a moment ago that I think led to a bit of an abridged practice session. But all the drivers here now, and all of the qualifying times quite competitive there, Adam. 7/10 of a second spanning those 20 cars that were able to get out on track.
Yeah, and especially with these Xfinity cars, they're very momentum-based. You're going to have to keep up the momentum. You're going to have to work that draft, and that's going to lead to a lot of drafting, I think, here for today. And with the qualifying times that close, practice times are pretty close as well. It might have a feel a little bit more maybe pack racing, at least at the start of this thing. And so I'm very much looking forward to seeing them go green here, see how this race, and at least the first stage, 25 laps, tries to shake out.
And the cars rolling off for their pace lap here around the 2.0 mile Michigan International Speedway. Galgon in the 49 car on the inside, Campbell in the 6 car on the high side. These drivers going to be approaching about 200 miles an hour in just a couple of laps around here. And Josh Bromwell and Brett Lederhoff going to be trying to take full advantage of the draft right behind him. One thing I'm noticing right off the bat here, Adam, a couple of new names towards the front, maybe drivers who aren't Challenger Series point contenders as well, that could straight from the top of the green flag just be out there racing for the win, not necessarily compared about points racing.
And that's always leads to some interesting things about how these guys are interact well with one another. Considering you're going to have some guys out there racing for points, some guys are just, like you mentioned, going out there just for the win. The other thing, Sam, that I want to point out, because I'm a happy Ford guy, an all Ford front row.
Yeah, I was thinking you were going to say you're also the weather guy, and it is a very, very hot day here in Michigan. Actually, so honestly, must be some kind of warm air moving through the area. I'll let you elaborate on that in a moment.
Well, yeah, it was like 105 here, so might as well be 90 there.
All right, here we go. We're about to make it warmer with the exhaust fumes because the pace car is off. Galgan has control of the field. He's on the loud pedal. We are racing here at Michigan International Speedway.
Big jam up back there, too, from about the 3rd row on back. Trying to see who it was that did not get going. Eric Stanford had a little bit of problem getting going, really jammed up that inside line, but looks like everybody's able to get away scot-free. Just a little bit of a heart attack moment right off the grid.
Side-by-side battle going for the lead. Campbell may have started up on the high side in 2nd place. He's going to use that momentum from the high line to give himself a lead as they go into turn 3. Galgan may even lose 2nd to Josh Bromwell up high.
Michigan's going to lend itself to a lot of multi-groove racing, especially with these Xfinity cars. Be looking for these guys to work the low side, work the high side, work the mid side. It gives you a lot of room to be able to race.
Oh, one car getting very down low there. That's John Theodore all the way down to the apron, just experimenting with these different lines early on. All 25 cars in the race, only 24 actually took the green flag on track. Jeremy Crandall will be hoping for an early caution because he started from the pits.
Yeah, I'm beginning to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he was thinking there might be some sort of calamity up front and he wanted to try to stay out of that, but nothing like that here so far. But we do have a 3-wide battle going here from about 10th place on back. Richard Reagan's involved, Mark Clewell's involved in that, John Theodore's out there. They're fighting hard out there for every little spot, trying to get that advantage here while everybody's all grouped together.
And one car up in the wall, that's Mike Donahue, got a piece of a wall heading into turn 1. He's filtered back into line, but this is not a track where you want any kind of damage on your car. It's going to cost you aerodynamically.
Yeah, it's already trying to slow him up a little bit there, and it looks like John Leday all over his back bumper trying to stay out of him. But that Miller High Life machine right now is not living the high life. It's very much hurt, and I think he's going to be wanting to try to get down pit road as soon as he can. He's going to be hoping for a caution.
The driver who is living the high life right now is Gerald Campbell, still controlling the field in the number 6 car. Josh Bonwell and Brett Lederhoff, a new driver as far as I'm concerned, to the Challenger Series here, battling hard for second place. Watching on behind them, Trey Galgon, Adam Eisenhower. Top 5 have broke away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, but the racing in that top 5 is pretty intense. Brett Laidhoff is really trying to use that bottom line right now to try to do something with Gerald Campbell, but not having as much luck as I think he'd like, as Trey Galgon tries to look back to the inside. He was running that high line for a little bit. He's going to go and try to give the low line a shot here and see if maybe he's able to gain any more ground, maybe try to get back up toward that second spot where he started the day. Excuse me, he gridded on the pole. My mistake.
And these drivers are going to want to take full advantage of these of the situation while these tyres are still cool and have some life in them, Adam, because we touched on it briefly on the pace lap. Track conditions are really hot, and these cars are going to start sliding around soon. Well,
not only are they hot, yeah, there we go. Thanks to Joe, our director, for showing that weather again. Another thing I want to point out, too, is that 89% humidity. That's going to make the draft even more important, too, because not only is it hot and slick with that humidity up as high, these Xfinity cars being momentum-based and a little bit down on horsepower compared to the actual full-blown Cup Gen 6 counterparts, you want every little bit of engine power that you can, and that 89% humidity is going to try to suck a little bit out of that engine here for today, and they're going to be wanting to try to stay in that draft, but already starting to see that top 5 try to string out. Right now on screen, we've got a little bit of a battle here. Looks like Jeff Martin trying to run that high side there alongside Richard Reagan.
Neither Martin nor Reagan are competing for points in this division. However, Martin is looking for something that Reagan has already gotten 2 of it this year, and that is a Challenger Series Race Winners Trophy.
Oh, here we go. It looks like Brad Laidhoff is trying to make a move here on the lead. He's got the inside going down the back straightaway on Gerald Campbell. Is Gerald just going to let him go? He's going to try to fight back on the outside. Brad Laidhoff trying to hit that apex, trying to swing back, but Gerald Campbell is still there. He's not going to be able to come back up all the way to the wall until Jared just gives him enough room to be able to do that, and now they're going to snake down the front stretch.
To my knowledge, I believe this is Brett Laidhoff's first start in the Challenger Series this season, and he's doing a great job. Started in 4th place and in 7 laps, controlling the field in that number 91 machine. General Campbell, I was talking to him before the start of the race. We've seen a lot of races this season. I mean, he's won 2 of them, but we've seen a lot of races where he started at the back and gradually worked his way up to the front. I said to him, are you not a good qualifier? And he said, on the contrary, I think I'm a great qualifier. Sometimes this year I've just been pushing it a little over the limit. However, I'm feeling confident I won't do that tonight. Sure enough, he got a nice qualifying spot, and he's running up front back now.
Yeah, very much so, running up front. I mean, that top 4 right now becoming the class of the field, and that top 3 now trying to separate themselves even a little bit from Josh Bonwell back there as well in that yellow freight machine. And, of course, it looks like Adam Eisenhower and the I Like Ike. I love that scheme. You pointed it out to me earlier, Sam. I really like that, but he's running that Sim Speed Shop machine, and he's trying his best right now to hang on to that pack, but he's starting to fall back in the clutches of Richard Reagan.
Now, one of the big names our regular viewers won't see here tonight is Gabriel Wood. He is not racing here tonight, so he will go into Chicagoland in 2 weeks' time, still looking for his first win of the season. Fortunately, these drivers do get 1 drop week, and I have a feeling even with these consistent finishes, he's pretty much locked up a position in the playoffs. Of course, so we know how close he's been to getting the win. I'm sure he'll want to try and get one of those when he comes back at Chicagoland.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 6 top 5s here this season so far, so I don't think missing this race is going to hurt him all that much. Now on your screen, little bit of a battle here. William Davis, Andrew Payne, and John Leday could throw a blanket over top of them, all running pretty identical lap times and trying to once again get themselves set up. We've already been able to click off here about 10 laps, 11 laps in this race, going by pretty quick. We're going to be hitting that first stage before too long.
Yeah, and one driver who will be looking forward to that caution to end the first stage is Mike Donohue. We caught him knocking the wall down earlier. He's been into it again, and that's costing him more time, giving him more damage to repair under the caution. The good news, of course, even though this is an aerodynamic track and you don't want any damage on your car, if you do get it, you've got a lot of time to fix it under yellow without going a lap down.
Very, very true. Another thing to point out here, too, real quick, Sam, is I'm looking at the lap times for a lot of these guys, and already in about 12 laps, we've seen lap times fall off about a second. So already seeing tire wear play a role.
So currently, as we approach the halfway point of the first stage, it is Brett Lederhoff continuing to lead the field around, and one driver with trouble here.
Trying to. Yeah, well, something happened with Bonwell. Trying to get him to look on his car. Yeah, he caught the wall. He's got some damage there on that right front fender.
Yeah, he started this lap in 4th place, and there you see he's currently running around in 8th.
I'm wondering here if he just drifted high out of 2. Yeah, you're going to see him slap that wall just a touch there. You know, that 3M wall sometimes acts like it has 3M tape on it. Whenever you hit it, it just kind of wants to pull you back in. But he's in the process right now of losing even more spots. As we've already seen with Mark Donohue earlier, that right front fender, you get a little bit of damage on it, it's really going to start slowing you up. And, of course, he hit it enough, too. He might have to worry about maybe if he knocked the toe out or something like that, too.
Yeah, and that's a sign, Adam. You were talking about those lap times slipping off. That's a sign also that the handling is starting. Some of these drivers starting to suffer with handling. Remember, these are fixed setups, but some drivers normally do have a bit of a better time handling car on worn tires than other drivers do. Meanwhile, a bit of a challenge for second place. I know we're watching this 3-wide battle go on as they go into turn 3 between John Theodore, Josh Bonwell, who's falling back with that damage, and Gary Sexton trying to break his way into the top 10 tonight. But at the same time, Trey Galgon trying to get second back from Gerald Campbell, although he's lost a bit of momentum right now.
Yeah, so they're falling off a little bit. Brett Laidhoff is one that's definitely managing everything better here so far. And I've got to go back to Josh Bonwell just real quick. He's continuing to struggle out there. I saw him in the wall again just a second ago, but it was a very light touch, and he's getting ready to get swallowed up. This could be somewhere where we might see some action here in the next lap or two, Sam, depending on how well this traffic manages Bonwell.
Yeah, Bonwell really right in the thick of it, in the middle of this second pack that's going on. This is the tightest racing we have going on the track right now. Things have kind of spread out in the top 8 or so. We do get the occasional battle spot that pop up. Obviously, these drivers who are racing for points, trying to get as many stage points as they can to help them out in the regular season championship, and also see if they can put themselves in an advantage position to get some bonus points heading into the playoffs. John Theodore taking a look on Jeff Martin for 9th.
Now, real quick, I don't need nothing to go to, but I do want to mention, even though it makes sound like we're talking about the field starting to spread out a little bit, you still have the entire top 20 fits on the backstretch right now. I mean, so not seeing much in the way of really tough battles out there, and they are starting to spread out a little bit, a touch, but they're not like all over the track just yet.
Yeah, the top 24 of our 25 cars are covered by 14 seconds, which is, well, about a third of a lap around here. The only drive off of that is Jeremy Grandor, who started from the pits, and I'm sure he'll become a factor later on in the race.
Eisenhower, I think, got into the wall a little bit himself, too. He's starting to lose a little bit of ground. He just lost a spot to Kyle Kammer. And so you can move Adam Eisenhower back to 8th and Kyle up to 7th position. Starting to see more and more cars with a little bit of a ding on the right front, Sam.
Yeah, and let's give a shout-out to Kyle Kammer. He hasn't been our biggest mover through the field, but he's certainly been impressive. Qualified 16th up to 7th. I have a feeling our bigger mover, though, is Andrew Payne, back in 13th place right now. Oh, no, I take it back. Kammer actually has gained more spots than him.
All right, so Kammer moving himself up through the field, and, we'll see what he's able to do here with this lap now that he's been kind of free of traffic. Compare him to what the leaders are doing. In this last lap, he ran a 42.79. Well, Mark Powell in 6th position was a 42.79 also, and Eric Stanford was a little bit slower as well. So he's one of the faster cars even on the racetrack right now.
Andrew Payne, I think, is mad that he's not the biggest mover through the field because he is trying to get more spots right now. He started 21st. He's up to 13th. He's looking on 12th place going down the back straight right now on Jeff Martin. And it must be said that Jeff Martin is one of those drivers that's struggling in the long run here.
Yeah, it really seems like, the top 3 have been kind of able to handle everything, and then from then on back, some guys struggle, and we're starting to see who's able to manage that long run coming into play. Now, we're going to be getting that first, stage yellow coming up here in about 5 laps or so. So these guys, they might be able to filter themselves back, but then they'll be able to work themselves back up to the front. We're really going to have to keep an eye on it. We really want to write down these names. It's in that last 50-lap stage because these will be your big players later on in the race.
So here goes Clawell making a move from 5th place from Stanford.
Yeah, I kind of saw that move coming from a little bit back. And Stanford's one of those guys that's starting to have a little bit more trouble, too, in that Arby's machine. And I think he's going to be losing a few more spots, too. The question I think is going to be is Kammer going to have enough time to get up to him before the yellow flag comes out for the stage? I don't think he's going to quite be able to get up to Stanford's rear bumper, though.
Yeah, Mark Clawell was one of those 3 drivers, along with Will Davis and Blake Griffith, who was involved in that collision coming to the finish line last time out at Pocono. The driver who was able to cross it first was Griffiths, so Clawell still looking for his first win of the season. Driver we just saw drop back to 6th, Eric Stanford. He does have a win this season, however, he is not one of the drivers competing for points in this division of the SSCA. And Adam Eisenhower in the wall again.
Yeah, that was not insignificant contact on that one. He's going to be feeling that as we'll see how many spots he loses. Pulled up here on the GSRC replay. See him coming across the start-finish line. He's already been in the wall once, at least once here tonight. And getting ready to see the second contact. Really trying to run that high line. I think the turn 2 wall just sneaks up on him and grabs him.
And as we continue watching this replay, watch Michael D'Amico at the back as well. I think he has a similar moment coming out of turn 2 that almost sends him, big slide down through the infield there.
It's hard, Sam, to get loose right there. And even though you have a very, very wide apron, it's hard to keep that thing off the inside wall. And Mark D'Amico was able to do that just about perfect, even with that little bit of wall contact there, almost sending him in. So he got that gathered up just in time. He'll be able to get that damage repaired, and we'll see what he can do later on. Meanwhile, hey, up front, Galgon is having a little bit of trouble here with Gerald Campbell. Gerald Campbell Campbell's having problems with Galgon. It would be great if I could talk tonight, Sam. But now I think Galgon's going to try to get a look on him going down the backstretch here.
The problem for both of these drivers is this battle is going on a second behind where Brett Lederhoff is controlling the field just 1 lap away from the end of this stage. these drivers, sure, they might be fighting for second now, but they're going to have to find another second in the long run here if they want to take it to the 91 later on. How aggressive is Galgon going to get here on lap number 25, looking to the high side of Campbell as they come into turns 1 and 2?
Yeah, remember, they do have stage points on the line here. And so these guys doing what they can to try to be out in front of the other. And Galgon almost in the wall, trying to get that run off of 2. He's going to pull alongside here, along Gerald Campbell. He's going to be able to complete that pass here, going through 3. Coming into 4. He's got the edge. He's got a little bit of speed, but Campbell's going to have that momentum coming on the outside. But I think Galgon's going to beat him to the line.
Beating them all to the line, though, is the 91 of Brett Lederhoff. Second place, it looks like, will go to Galgon ahead of Campbell, Regan, Clewell, Stanford, Kammer, Theodore, Rogers, Payne. That'll round out the top 10. Now, I am waiting for the caution because we were told it was 25, 50 laps, but there was also some chatter on Facebook that stages today may have been readjusted to 30, and 40 laps. And it looks like it might actually be what they're going to. That's a very different format than what we're used to seeing in the series. Normally, stages 1 and 2 are incredibly short, and they make the third stage long. But this way, they're doing it tonight for whatever reason. Not what was advertised on the website, but I'm sure the drivers were briefed on the updated stage lengths. And that means fuel mileage will definitely become interesting in that last stage.
Yeah, it will for sure. And yeah, that's fuel mileage is everything in Michigan. And I think that anytime you're going to have a fuel mileage race in Michigan, you know it's going to be something.
All right, so that means this battle for second is going to continue another 3 laps before we award stage points. Galgon, Campbell, and Regan now into it. And Mark Jackson, the first driver of the player strategy card. He had been running in the tail end of a field, so he's going to come in 2 laps before pit road closes, and that will give him track position for the start of stage 2, providing he gets out on the lead lap ahead of Lederhoff.
Yeah, that's it's going to be very, very key, man. And looking at Gerald Campbell, too, real quick. Gerald's really starting to get loose coming off of 4. And I don't think he's the only one. I think a lot of these guys are starting to struggle with these tires here as we get really light on fuel and everything else. A lot of these stock cars, Gen 6 and the Xfinity, they're the most stable on full fuel. And starting to see these guys have handling problems because of it.
Yeah, so these drivers should have enough fuel to complete the stage. Obviously, the tyres are all going to be shot. They're going to be wanting 4 fresh good years in just a couple of laps' time. Well, this battle for second is definitely going to heat up because now for sure we know, I did say it with a bit of uncertainty at the completion of lap 24, but now for sure we know it's a 1-lap shootout here for second place at the end of stage 1. Galgon, Campbell, and Regan. What can Regan do in these next 2 miles?
Well, he definitely has the best handling car right now. I think he's going to be able to pick off Gerald Campbell here. I think he's going to be able to get around him. We'll see, though. I do want to point out that one of the fastest cars still up there in the top 10 right now is still Kyle Cameron.
Yeah, one of our big movers who's gone from 16th to 7th. Unfortunately, the other big mover we've been watching, Andrew Payne, has been involved in a couple of skirmishes with the wall. So, we called it right a few laps ago. Lederhoff wins the stage. There he goes again, does it for real. Galgon second, ahead of Campbell, Regan, Clewell, Stanford, Kammer, Theodore, Rogers, and Sexton. And we have not mentioned Danny Rogers at all tonight. This is a name I recognise from previous series we've covered here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I hadn't seen him for a while, but he's back, and he's famed a number 5 car. Started 15th, got up to 9th inside the top 10 in the opening stage.
Yeah, good run there from the Texas driver. Hey, anytime a guy from Texas does well on one of these things, I'm all right with.
All right.
I may be just a little biased, though.
Pit road will be open next time by. It will be a bit of a lengthy caution because Mark Jackson did go one lap down during his pit stop trying to play a strategy card. I don't think that was the ideal strategy, though, was to lose a lap to Lederhoff. But number 3 is back out on track, and he should easily be able to get the wave around here. So, when they come into the pits, it's going to be Lederhoff, Galgan, Campbell, Regan, and Clairwell. In which order they're going to come out. And Adam, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 drivers overshoot their pit stall, just because pit road, the speed limit's quite high here at a big track such as Michigan.
They are very comparable to some of your super speedways as far as that pit road speed limit. And these cars, especially these modern stock cars, they're hard to break coming to it. So yeah, you're right. I would not be surprised to see a guy or two slide here, especially if they haven't practiced their pit stops in these hot conditions.
All right, so here comes the field. Galgan, of course, is going to have that desired first pit stall from taking his first pole position of the season tonight. We mentioned, do you get $5 when you get 2 poles? Well, he hasn't quite got that yet. However, he's only 1 pole away from getting it now. Right now, he's not worried about that. He's just worried about trying to beat Lederhoff out of the pits, because it might be the only way you're going to beat the driver of that number 91. All of the leaders, it looks like, have done their practice. They all hit their pit stalls quite nicely. Which of them is going to win the race out of a pit road? Of course, we anticipate all of them taking 4 tires with the tire wear, spinning these tires, exiting his pit stall. It's Lederhoff, but he's still able to win the race out of pit road ahead of Galgan, Campbell, Regan, and Clairwell. Pretty much the order they came in. They're about to run a couple more laps under the pace car here, so we're going to take a quick break on the GSRC. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. First stage complete, first round of stops complete, and surprisingly, very rare on iRacing, the top 5 entering the pits is the same as the top 5 leaving the pits. Some drivers who didn't have a great round of pit stops. Robert McFarland has been in a few times trying to fix some damage. Jeremy Crandall just came into the pits to top off with fuel for the remainder of the stage, and Scott Seaman was given an end-of-line penalty for driving through too many pit stalls on pit exit. But Lederhoff and Galgan about to lead the field. The back to green once again. Lederhoff has been in control of this field through the first stage. He's on control for the restart here, and right now, Adam, with a restart like that, looks like he could be in control of the field for the second stage.
Yeah, just a fantastic start. Now, remember, right off the green flag earlier on, he wasn't the fastest car right away. It took a few laps for his car to come in, so if Gerald Campbell's gonna strike, he's gonna have to do it soon, but he's got Richard Reagan all over his back bumper right now, who actually lost a little bit of ground there, but still there.
Yeah, got a nice view there from our cameras provided by Dougie Beard, watching the train of drivers behind him, and here comes Regan on the inside of Campbell. Could Campbell be about to get freight train down on the low side here, because Galgan picking the slipstream, picking the draft up off of Regan ahead as they hit 195 miles an hour, throwing it down into turns 1 and 2. But Campbell going to try and power off, use that momentum off of turn 2, keep him ahead. And so far it's working.
Yeah, able to carry that speed really well enough. Oh, we got an accident in the back here. Trying to find out who it is. I see Danny Rogers involved, Robert McFarland.
Yeah, Danny Rogers was, he actually had a bit of a moment coming out of turn 2 on the restart. Looks like it compounded here when they came back around the second time.
Yeah, see him slap that wall here in just a second, coming off 2, and then the back end just comes out from underneath him. He's not able to control it. And it would have been, I believe, a single car accident. Actually, Robert McFarland was not involved in that. It ended up just being a single car accident. We're watching Danny Rogers earlier. He's moving up through the field real well, but going to have to take a tow this time.
Yeah, definitely not a track where you want to slam the wall as hard as what he did there. And fortunately was able to spin out of a way off of most of the field and not pick up any additional damage, but he has retired from the race, down to 24 cars.
Which just means we get to do this all over again here in just a few laps as far as the restart goes. Now, I wonder, though, we did get at least 1 or 2 green flag laps in there. Are we going to see anybody come down pit road? And because tires are going to be at a premium, and indeed, here comes Ladoff. Oh, no, he trips the field. Is anybody back there?
I think we're going to see a lot of fakes here, Adam. Now, normally, well, John Bomb, okay, at the very back of the field, see some cars coming in.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are the guys with damage from earlier.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just topping off for fuel here, Adam. Normally, in another series, yeah, sure, we'd see them take tyres, but since they're limited on the amount of tyres they can take during the race, why would you waste a set when you've only been out there for 2 laps on these ones?
That is true, Sam, but one thing, too, is that these guys can split up those sets. They could take right sides this time if they wanted to, and then maybe later do something like that. So that's a part of the strategy games that sometimes you see here at Michigan.
So currently in the lead, we expect this to be a fairly short yellow because all of the cars were on the lead lap when the caution flew. Currently in the lead of this race is Lederhoff, Campbell in 2nd place, Regan in 3rd, Galgan 4th, and Clewell in 5th place. And talking about short, this stage is actually going to be a little bit shorter than the first stage, Adam, because it starts with caution laps being run from the end of the first stage. Also, we've gotten more caution laps here from Danny Rogers' incident. So all of a sudden, we're down to less than 20 laps of green flag racing until the end of stage 2 for these drivers when we go back to green.
And that's the other oval adage that we're going to have to talk about too here. Cautions sometimes breed cautions. Every time we bunch this field back up, we could run into more trouble. So could this be a caution-filled second stint here? I think we'll wait and see. But top half of this field here, Sam, today looks really good.
Yeah, lights are off on the pace car. So we're going to be restarting this race with 60 laps left to go. Lederhoff, these drivers do have a choice, I believe, on which side they want to restart the race on, and Lederhoff is choosing to do it down low. Going back and watching the replay of a previous incident, we saw one driver making an evasive move to get by Danny Rogers, trying to work out who that was. I think it was Jeff Martin. Yeah, that was Jeff Martin. You saw he ran it all the way down to the apron to get around him. So kudos to him to keep his car running in the 15 machine.
Well, pace car getting ready to pull off here. Lederhoff's going to take him down to the green. Gerald Campbell starting alongside him. In the second row is Richard Reagan and Trey Galgon.
And here they come once again for our second caution of the race. So this is going to be our third start of a race, essentially. With 60 laps left to go, Lederhoff once again gets a nice restart. But this time, Campbell gets a pretty decent one as well, although not good enough to keep up with Lederhoff. Campbell going to have to worry about Regan being on his inside.
Ooh, Lederhoff does not have a good second corner, and Richard Reagan almost ran over him. Richard Reagan had to lift a touch, and that's going to put Gerald Campbell in a position trying to make a run on him down the back straightaways. We're looking out the front end, and Trey Galgon getting a good view of that action up front. In fact, Gerald Campbell might not settle for that. Ooh, Lederhoff shuts him down. He almost had a good look inside Lederhoff.
And these drivers all have different stories to tell so far this season, and it all concludes with they're all racing for the win. Lederhoff, this is his first start in the season. He's not really worried about the championship. Gerald Campbell already has 2 wins. He's the only points contender who can say that. Regan has 2 wins as well, but he's not racing for points. He's just out here for fun. And Galgan, back in 4th place, already has a win that has locked him in the playoffs. He wants another win so he can add to his bonus points when he makes it to the playoffs at the end of the season. All of these drivers thinking about that top spot, but it's Lederhoff holding it down right now.
Yeah, he has not been challenge-free like he was earlier on, but we saw his car really come in as the run went along. So look for him try to separate himself out, but until that happens, he's going to have Campbell, he's going to have Reagan all over him.
And there you see up there in purple at the top of your screen when the drivers get the fastest laps that time around. It went to Lederhoff with a 40.976.
And those 2 guys behind him not far off of that. I mean, Gerald Campbell ran a 49.84, so Lederhoff not pulling away, I think, as fast as he would like. Now, that top 3, though, is starting to separate themselves out from the cars behind him, and that second pack being led right now by Trey Galgon. But even that is kind of a loose lead because he's starting to separate himself out from Kyle Cameron. Now, Kyle Cameron is going to be somebody very interesting to watch here as we go along, because he was one of the faster cars in the second part of that first stage. Let's see if he's able to duplicate that out there here in the second stage.
Yeah, some nice street-wide racing going on at the back of the pack the last couple of laps. They finally have calmed down a little bit. One nice thing for these drivers who are performing a bit better on the shorter run. We talked about, Adam, how these drivers aren't having to make these tyres last as long in this second stage, and fuel mileage shouldn't be a concern at all for these next 15 laps. doesn't mean these drivers are going to be able to be a bit more aggressive over these next 15 laps, knowing their cars won't slide around as much. And then again, how many drivers will overdo it? Think, oh, well, I only have to race hard for 15 laps, so I don't have to, you know, throw caution to the wind and get in the wall as a result.
Yeah, we saw a lot of guys do that overdriving thing. But hopefully they've learned their lesson. Hopefully the guys around them saw what was happening and learned their lesson as well. But remember what we were talking about, as these cars get a little light on fuel, the handling of them definitely changes. Now up front, well, right now looking at Eric Stanford. Eric Stanford was another one of those guys that looked like he was going to have a really good run earlier on, ran himself into a little bit of trouble, but starting to get himself put back together here. But oh, he's going to cut it awfully close there to John Theodore.
Yeah, good news for Stanford there is John Theodore has been statistically one of the cleaner drivers of the season, has only accumulated 22 incident points, although granted he's only been in 7 out of 9 races so far this season.
Already seeing the times falling off. We were talking just a couple laps ago about Brett Ladoff running that 49.76. Well, that last time around, he was at 41.594. So half second lost in the span of about 5 laps.
Just to elaborate on the incident points for you there, that there is no incident limit for this series. The drivers can wreck as many times as they want, and as long as they don't cause 2 other wrecks, they won't get disqualified from the race. But there are no free repairs, so if you get any damage, you've got to live with it for the remainder of the race.
Oh, hey, battle for the lead, trying to shape up here. Gerald Campbell trying to get a look on the outside of Brett Ladoff. I think he's figuring that might be the best way to try to go around. Brett Ladoff's going to shut him down, though. Not going to be able to make it here this time high. In fact, he loses just a little bit of ground. Now, as Brett Ladoff is starting to slow down just a touch, we're starting to see guys where their fall off hasn't been quite as bad. That's your Kyle Kamer, that's your Trey Galgon. They're starting to get themselves back into this here a little bit.
Yeah, the driver's rushing by at 200 miles an hour, mixing up our microphones a little bit, but seems to have sorted out right now. We'll just move them back a little bit from the racetrack as these drivers once again throw their Xfinity cars 190 miles an hour into the first turn. Chevrolet leading the field for Lederhoff. Campbell is in the Ford, and then Regan is in the Toyota Camry behind. So none of these drivers have got any room to complain that they're in the slower manufacturer. Of course, iRacing pretty much builds these 3 cars identical.
Yeah, you can share setups and everything else between them, just like you can with the 3 Gen 6 makes. So, and also just like you can, I believe, with the trucks. I think you can share the setups between the Tundra and the Silverado there as well. So, like, gotta love that disparity. It makes definitely working with teammates and stuff a lot easier. And I'm sure some of these guys in their other series work together. Of course, they are running a fixed setup here today. And now, Richard Reagan getting loose here. Just a second ago, underneath Gerald Campbell, loses a little bit of time, but I think Richard Reagan kind of almost started to have second thoughts about that.
Yeah, and if Regan did slide into any kind of trouble, Galgan right behind him, I'm sure would be keen to take advantage. Halfway as they come around, and another big slide from Campbell going all the way down to the apron there to... I don't think that's going to save him. Regan's going to get a nice run on the inside.
Now he's trying to do his best to break off everybody else's momentum, try to limit what he lost, but that hurts. Now I was watching Eisenhower slide off too there as that was happening. So these guys really starting to move around already. I think a lot of that has to do with how much heat is going into the track. Now, despite that slide, Gerald Campbell's going to have a really strong look at the inside of Richard Reagan here. Handling is really starting to fall off these cars. Now, will Campbell repeat that slide here coming off 4? It doesn't look like it. Looks like he's a little bit more stable underneath. I also don't think he pushed it as hard there, Sam. So watching Gerald Campbell here on the inside trying to fight with Richard Reagan. Now, of course, Campbell already sliding around a little bit, working that inside line is not going to work out so well for his tires, as they're going to heat up even more than they already are. In fact, he might start to fall back into Trey Galgon's clutches, who is caught back up and trying to get back into that top 3 as he fell off and lost a little bit of ground earlier on. I'm also hearing reports that the Adam Eisenhower got back into the wall, lost about another 10 spots there. So they not going so good for Eisenhower. A few spots back, now running it in 21st position.
Yes, Eisenhower sliding back. He's just been going through a bit of growing pains, I think, in the last few races. We've seen him running a bit higher than what he was at the start of the season, but also being involved in a couple more skirmishes. I'm assuming you're watching this battle for second here, Adam.
Yeah, Campbell almost lost it again after those guys. That would have collected Reagan and Galgon easy, but he was able to keep going straight. But all those guys right now are sliding around, losing a lot of time. The guy that's looking the best right now, Brett Laidhoff.
Yeah, not holding quite the second lead over the field that he was at the end of the first stage. So with Regan still within striking range, about 6 or 7 tenths back there.
Oh, Laidhoff got slid a little bit out of the 2 right there and actually brushed the wall just a touch. I don't see any damage on his car. In fact, I don't even think he lost any speed, but that's the first mistake I've seen out of the Laidhoff here.
He's only got to make it last another 6.5 laps to the end of this second stage.
Even with Laidhoff starting to fall out, it's he's still running away here from these guys too. Richard Reagan now. Campbell once again loose off 2. Really fishtails a little bit going down back straightaway. I don't understand how he's able to do this, Sam, and not lose a ton of time. It's like every lap right now, Campbell is breaking loose off 2.
Yeah, one driver who did break loose a couple of laps ago and got a big piece of the wall was Josh Bomwell. He started this race in 3rd. Unfortunately, things have been going a bit south for him. He now has a lot of damage on his number 56 machine, running around the 20th position. We return our focus, so up front here as we're running out of laps in this second stage, and things are tightening up for second.
Really starting to see some more guys out there start to struggle. But I know we keep going back to him, but you see him right there again on the chart just a minute ago. It's Kyle Kammer. He's up there. We're following Andrew Payne now. Andrew had himself a little bit of trouble earlier on, but starting to climb himself back up here into the top 10. But Kyle Kammer was once again one of the fastest cars out there right now, Sam.
Yeah, Payne actually just lost a couple positions a couple laps ago, got a piece of a wall. And what that means is, for the first time this race, Will Davis, one of the highest driving points without a win to his name this season, he's moved up in the top 10, although he might be about to lose that to John Lyday in the 8 car.
Well, these two slide around out there now. Looking at lap 58 now is the lap that Brett Laidhoff had just started. So we're going to be getting that second stage caution here any minute now, Sam.
Yep, Laidhoff leading them on down the back straight. He still has a nice 6/10 of a second cushion over Regan, Galgon, Campbell, and Clewell. Rounding out the top 5, Kammer and Stanford battling hard for 6th place with just 2 laps left to go in the stage. Theodore running on his own in 9th, Theodore running on his own in 8th, Sexton running on his own in 9th. Battle is on for that final stage point behind Lee Day and Davis with just 2 laps left to go in the stage. As we mentioned, Things very tight between 2nd to 7th position. That's where the battle is going to be in these last 4 miles.
Ooh. Yeah, Reagan was almost into that wall again off 2. They're really sliding through there. A couple of guys still having trouble.
So here we come. 1 lap left to go in this stage. Laitoff definitely has established himself as the car to beat in the opening 59 laps of this race. But we haven't played the fuel mileage card yet that we'll see in the 3rd stage. Regan slowly but surely creeping his way to the front of his field. He's already gotten 2 wins this season, even though he's not a points contender. He'll just be thinking about that 3rd win, but getting a bit loose there off of turn 2 as Galgan takes her there off of his rear spoiler. But I think a 22 will still have enough of a gap here to come home with 2nd, but we'll see, maybe not. So as they come out of turn 4, Robert McFarland will just stay on the lead lap ahead of Brett Laitoff, wins stage 1. Regan holds on in 2nd, ahead of the car. That handling was definitely going away. Galgan, Campbell, Clewell, Stanford, Kammer, Theodore, Sexton, and a driver who just holds on the finish inside the top 10 at the end of stage 2 is John Lyday. He just finishes ahead of William Davis. So, we'll stay with you for pit stops here. Now, a very interesting scenario at the end of the 1st stage. The top 5 cars coming into the pits exited the same way. That's very rare here on iRacing. Normally you have someone miss their marks on pit road, or whose random pit crew gives them a slightly better or a slightly slower pit stop than the others. That wasn't the case during the 1st caution. I would be surprised if we see the order remain. Laitoff, Regan, Galgan, Campbell and Clewell coming out of the pits, but it could very well do. They all did a very good job at the opening stage of all hitting their marks when they came into the pits. But now, bumper to bumper again, this could be the money stop. If we go green to the end, these drivers are going to have to want to absolutely make sure that they hit their marks this time by. So work our ways through turns 3 and 4. Not a whole lot of strategy, I believe, we're going to see getting played this time by. Should be 4 tyres and fuel for all of them. Might see a couple of drivers stay out at the back to shake things up. I don't think that's a strategy that would play out for them well in the long run. So Laitoff in, and Regan actually leaves a bit of a gap to Laitoff there. I don't think he will have wanted that. I think he would have preferred to get himself tucked up right under his rear bumper. And now Regan a little bit closer as he pulls into his pit stall. These drivers have got to be careful about how many pit stalls they go through. Laitoff hits his pit stall. Nice.
This is his pit stall. Has to back up actually twice to try to get things to go.
And Laitoff down off the tracks. Who's going to win the race out of pit road?
Oh, Galgan loses at least 2 spots right there.
Yeah, McFarland beats them all out, but we've seen him have trouble with crash damage early on in the race, so yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, he's getting a wave around there. He's tail end of the lead lap right now.
And we did have 1 car drop out there during the pit cycle with no damage. John Leday has decided to call it a day.
Yeah, which is a shame considering he was in the top 10 at the end of the 2nd stage. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back for the restart. Don't go away here on the GSRC. Hello and welcome back to Michigan International Speedway for round 10 of the AdPro 360 Challenger Series. You're seeing all the action here tonight live on the Global SimRacing Channel. This is a Dirty Air Studios 200. Dirty Air Studios is an iRacing media production company that provides top-of-the-line professional videos, graphics, pictures and paints for all things sim racing. Visit them at facebook.com/Dirty Air Studios. Well, one driver that's not going to have to worry too much about dirty air on the front of his nose for this restart is Brett Lederhoff. He hasn't had to worry about too much of that all night long, but will he have to worry about fuel mileage? 35-lap shootout, the finish of the race. Here we go.
Well, Brett Lederhoff with a terrific start, gets a great jump on Gerald Campbell and also Trey Galgon. We need to mention during that pit stop cycle, Richard Reagan was giving an EOL penalty. He is in the back of the field.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to help Reagan's chance of getting his third win of the season. Right now, Lederhoff looking for his first. Campbell thinking about his third, running in second. Galgan and Theodore. Boy, John Theodore, I know we've been watching him midfield all race long. He's finally worked his way up to the front.
Slowly but surely, but if you're going to be there, now's the time to be there. Now we'll see what these guys are going to start trying to think about doing as far as pit stop strategy.
Yeah, his drivers will definitely want to use up. So, oh, and sideways, big hit into the wall for Galgan, and more cars involved. There was Adam Eisenhower who just eclipsed him at the end there. Michael Dillard is also spinning next in turn two. Kyle Kemmer, heavy damage. Things getting ugly on lap 67.
Oh, that's going to be a tough one there. It looks like he's going to, him in the 27 car there, make contact, and he overcorrects into the wall. Kyle Kemmer just nowhere to go. And the same with Dullard. He just had nowhere to go himself and clips that.
Yeah, when these drivers are throwing it into the turn at 190 miles an hour, as we've been mentioning, there's really not a whole lot you can do, not a whole lot of reaction time with the high speeds that these cars are going.
Yeah, and that, it's just the hard part there is when the car snapped back at him. I mean, he was going to lose spots. You know, he was in a slide, but he almost had it saved, and then just snaps right back up into the wall. That is two very strong cars taking out one accident.
This is our fourth caution of the day. You do have to wonder if some drivers are going to elect to take tyres here. I don't think any of the front runners will be considering it, but maybe the drivers at the back of the field.
Yeah, seen a few guys come in, including John Theodore. John's wondering if he got any kind of damage in that contact. I think he's your highest person coming in.
Yeah, John Theodore in the pits, Jeff Martin, Andrew Payne, Jeremy Crandall, Ellery Queen, Trey Galgan, Kyle Kemmer, and Michael Dullard. But as you mentioned, half of those drivers have sustained some kind of damage during tonight.
Yeah, and one thing we can't forget is how high up Galgon is in points. I mean, we'll see if he's going to try to get his car back out there, but he is hurt.
Yeah, the good news for Galgan with that regards is he already has a win this season, lock him into the playoffs, but really all you're racing for at that point is more wins to get you more bonus points when the playoffs start.
Well, he's still sitting there. He's still going to be trying to do something. Now, in all that craziness, Lederhoff is still your first place car, followed by Gerald Campbell. Then Eric Stanford has been able to work himself up to third position after slipping back earlier on. Then Mark Lowell. And how about a guy that we have not talked about at all tonight, Sam? Running up in the top 5 now is Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson was at the tail end of the field for a good chunk of the night and has just slowly been working himself up here the last couple laps.
Yeah, could have very much been a strategy call, a plan by the driver of at number 3. A similar story for the driver behind him, the 99, Scott Seaman, who actually got an EOL earlier on during the race, an end of a line penalty for cutting through too many pit boxes on pit exit. Gary Sexton, the league admin, running in 7th place right now. He has been running in top 10 all race long, or just outside the top 10. 7th is the highest we've seen him. William Davis back there in 8th. Regan, after having the penalty recently, he's now worked all his way back up to 9th, ahead of Josh Bomwell. Meanwhile, a few drivers showing a lap down now. Robert McFarland, Michael Dollard, who have both accumulated a bit of damage. John Lidday, who for some reason disconnected. We're not really sure why. He hadn't been involved in any incident, but he is back out there on track now, albeit 2 laps down. Danny Rogers is the driver being ranked in 25th. He's out of the Reds. So there's gonna be less than 30 laps left to go when we restart. We keep talking about stages here, Adam. Let's take a look at how significant these stages are for these drivers, because they do pay points.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and these points add up in a hurry with the stage wins and everything else. So, I mean, if you can get up there and get them, then great, but it's even a better night. I shouldn't say a better night. Brett Ladoff, with being, kind of a newcomer to everything, I mean, he's just here to try to win the race, but he's keeping those points away from some of the other guys behind him.
Yeah, and now you see the field getting double file here for this restart. So all of the drivers who have been sitting in the pits getting repairs, well, they've got as much as they're going to get for this run. If their cars are still wounded, they'll be hoping for another caution that doesn't involve them to get them to the end of this race. How many of those drivers with damaged cars took tyres during this stop, and will those be able to help them out in the long run? We'll wait and see if the likes of Jeff Martin running towards the back there, drivers that we've seen run into a bit of trouble today, like Adam Eisenhower, not in the top 10 right now, but maybe they're in the position to play a bit of strategy call and get up here before the race is done. Up front, no one's had anything for Ladoff so far. We've got 29 laps to see if someone can take a fight to him.
He's gotten a couple of really good restarts here. We'll see if he can duplicate it as well.
Gerald Campbell restarted on the high side. Stanford and Clairwood Clairwell behind them. Here we go. Ladoff gets a nice jump once again. A few car lengths already over Campbell. Campbell has the whole track to himself. Stanford, in fact, going to try and tuck up behind that number 6 car and get a bit of a draft as they go through turns 1 and 2.
Ladoff just getting a fantastic run, but Campbell's going to have his hands full with Stanford. Somebody was in the wall back there.
Yeah, that was Josh Bomwell. Not the first time, unfortunately, we've seen that tonight from him, and now you can see he's dropped back around 15th place now.
Well, meanwhile, Eric Stanford is almost able to clear. Indeed, he does clear. Jared Campbell moved that Arby's machine up to second.
Boy, the battle has been for second all race long today. That's kept changing hands while Ladoff has just been controlling the field.
Oh, caution on the speedway. And still making contact back there with a few cars, even after the accident itself had cleared. See Jeff Martin sideways. Adam Eisenhower again. John Theodore, who is doing really well, gets caught up in that.
Yeah, I saw the John Theodore Jeff Martin battle brewing, but that's not what brought out the yellow.
Yeah, we're going to see it right here. You're going to see Adam Eisenhower going into one. He's going to drift a little bit high. He's going to catch that wall, and it shoots him down to the inside of the track and right into John Theodore. John Theodore, just a victim there, had nowhere to go with that, and then ends up ultimately collecting Martin as well.
Okay, so that's what I caught. I caught John Theodore sliding out of turn 2. That was him still trying to save the car from what happened all the way over in turn 1. Yeah, watch how many saves Theodore is actually able to pull off with this. And he was one of those drivers on newer tyres, remember? Or at least he pitted under the previous caution, and Adam Eisenhower has been gave a penalty for that. You can see he definitely just cut down the racetrack without entirely knowing that he was clear, and he wasn't.
Yeah, well, pretty much. And with John Theodore, though, you're right about how many saves he almost made there. And really, I mean, the contact with Martin here is going to be unfortunate because Theodore almost has it completely gathered up, and he's still sliding just enough to clip Theodore, to clip Martin, and Martin doesn't even see it coming. I mean, it happens behind him, and so he goes for a little bit of slide, and all of a sudden he has to get up on that wheel and try to keep the car going back straight. It does pick up a little bit of body damage, but it's not severe.
Stanford in the pit, Clewell in the pit, Davis, Sexton, Seaman, lots of drivers staying out, Lederhoff, Campbell, Jackson, Regan. Boy, the strategy is split down the field.
Want to see where these guys come out here. See, the big key here is, Sam, everybody that just pitted can for sure go the rest of the way.
I have a feeling fuel mileage is out of the question by this point. I have a feeling we've ran enough caution flags that these drivers should be okay, even those who have been staying out. The big question, I think, is going to be these tyres. Because I think at some point you've got to say, Adam, okay, maybe, yes, Brett Laidhoff is a really strong runner. We've obviously seen that tonight. But how much has this clean air really been helping him? Are those drivers, even with the new tyres, are they going to run into the same problem that the likes of Trevor Campbell have had all day long? That, sure, in these hot conditions, maybe those newer tyres will get them up to second, but just having that bit of dead air in front of them is going to disable them from being able to make a pass for the win.
It's definitely possible, and these guys are also back there going to have to fight themselves through, I think, about 12 cars to try to get back up to Brett Laidhoff, and by the time they get up there, they might have already burned off their equipment, so we'll see what happens. And I do agree with you. Maybe they've ran enough caution laps to go for, to be able to go the rest of the way. At the same time, I know for sure the cars that just pitted with 25 to go are absolutely able to go. No question about them, for sure.
And they've also got to imagine, though, here, Adam, the beds have been made now. Unless we have a caution with about 10 laps to go. I mean,
you don't pit. You don't pit unless you end up with, like you said, about 10 to go, and then everybody's going to come down to try to get fresh rubber and see how things shake out in the meantime. But it's Michigan. That caution is not a guaranteed thing at the end of this race. It very well could go green the rest of the way. We've already seen a green stretch this long. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things play out here. But I do know Brad Laidhoff is going to have to be up on that wheel because he's got a couple of fast guys coming up behind him. And don't look now. Look who's already made himself back up to fourth. Granted, he had some guys stop in front of him, but he's back up to fourth after having that EOL penalty a couple cautions ago. That's Richard Reagan.
Yeah, I mean, Laidhoff has done a good job of being able to hold off likes of Campbell and Regan on similar strategies as him all day long. As you mentioned, all these drivers, about the next 3 rows of cars, I would say, on the restart here, are going to act as a buffer between him and the drivers on new tires. But let's not also forget the fact that new tires did contribute to the last caution. Sure, the blame was placed on Adam Eisenhower for cutting down 3 lanes, thinking he was clear when he wasn't. But at the same time, the reason he didn't think he was clear was because he was clear on the straightaway, but the driver on the newer tyres, that was John Theodore, was able to throw it in a lot deeper than he was anticipating because Theodore had those new tyres, and that contributed to a collision. Who's to say we can't see more of the same happening in the middle of the field? And if it does, Laitoff has that track position, he'll be in front of all of that.
Well, all the questions are going to begin to be answered here in about half lap. Lights are off on the base car. They're forming up 2 by 2. We're going to be going back to green here in just a bit.
And Brett Laitoff, I think, is quite bored under this yellow because he's having time to join in on our YouTube chat under this caution right now. He's asking if someone can get him a beer.
No, I can't drink a beer right now thanks to something I'm on. So, no, I can't. You can't. Not going to happen there, Brett.
No drinking and driving in the real world. Is it permissible in sim racing?
No comment.
Okay. Well, Brett Laitoff, good reaction time, so I don't think he's been drinking yet because it gets a nice restart there as we start. Lap number 78. Gerald Campbell holding on to second from now, but here comes Regan.
Oh, he's going to take that 3 wide, no problem.
Yeah, Regan was at the back very recently. Now he's already up to second.
Yeah, look at him slide right up in front of Campbell there. He's got the momentum, but Campbell all over his back bumper, trying to bump draft a little bit, but here comes Andrew Payne.
Andrew Payne, boy, he was a big mover early on, and he struggled in the middle of the race, knocking the walls down a couple of times. This is the highest we've seen him tonight, running up in 3rd place. 3 wide battle. This is a trouble zone, Adam, where those new tires are clashing into those old tires.
Yeah, and Mike Donahue was one of the first guys we saw get into trouble earlier on tonight. He was right in the middle of that sandwich. He's going to back out of it, but by the process of backing out of it, he finds himself almost in the same situation. But now Eric Stanford on the outside, oh, he comes right up in front of Stanford. That was almost contact there.
And side by side for 6th place, William Davis and Jeremy Crandall.
Oh, Mike Donahue's loose off of 4. Sliding it down pit road into the pit road wall. No caution because of where it came out.
Yeah, fortunate for us, we keep going. Very unfortunate for Donahue because that car took a couple of hard hits, and I think that's going to be his night done.
Yeah, he comes across here and it comes out of 4. That back end just loses grip. It's one of the cars. I think had some old tires, and momentum just carries right down into pit road. And a couple of, as you talked about, Sam, a couple of hard hits there.
And though Mark Martin had a similar real-world experience.
I was just thinking about that.
He would have preferred Donahue's ride, I'm sure about that.
Yeah, instead of a piece of wall penetrating back right behind his driver's seat.
All right, back up front, Laitoff, as he has all day long. He has a half-second lead over Regan, but Andrew Payne starting to bring the pain a little bit to Regan in 2nd position there. Gerald Campbell just minding his own in 4th place. William Davis is the car on the move right now. He just took 5th from Jackson, and he is heading towards the front. And the Hornet's Nest is back in around 6th place.
Yeah,
actually, I take that back. 7th place.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Eric Stanford really trying to slice and dice his way through some of these cars with slightly older tires. Tires are everything right now. It seems even Mark Noel starting to break loose just a little bit. These guys really fighting trying to get back up there.
So this pack being led by the driver in 7th, Eric Stanford, who's actually breaking away from them a bit. So now the battle on for 8th, Mark Clewell. These all the drivers on the newer tyres are just getting themselves cleared of this pack of cars that stayed out there on the old tyres. I think this pack is actually breaking up a little bit right now. The pack that is coming to a head. Oh, Jeremy Crandall in the grass, sliding back up a track, spinning, and that's going to bring out the yellow.
And all that strategy could have just gone out the window.
Ride on board Ellery Queen here, get his view of what happened to Crandall and see how much damage the drive of his 79 car picked up.
And just, once again, just kind of nowhere to go. I mean, he sees it coming out of his front windshield, but not much you can do in that situation. So for a moment there, Ellery probably wished he was back home again in Indiana.
Well, it's better than how I normally sum it up with incidents for Ellery Queen, Adam, and say another one bites the dust. Fortunately was Crandall, we bit a little bit of a dust there. Also see the number 15 of Jeff Martin got a good piece of that. Fortunately, I think Martin was able to hold on to his car. Yeah, the problem is for the driver of that 15, he's really not going to know how it handles now until they go back green flag racing. Alright, so the drivers on newer tyres have been carving their way through the field. Do the likes of Lateoff have to respond here? Yes, they are coming in. They're bringing the whole field in with them. Josh Bonwell stays out. The big question is, do these drivers running around 6th place who took 4 tyres not too long ago, do they take right sides only?
Well, I think that's going to be the bigger question out of this. I'm very curious to see how this is going to work out for Bonwell, Seaman, and really Mark McFadden. Those are the only 3 guys on the lead lap that stayed out here, and they're just going to get swallowed up on this next restart.
Nice pit stop by Lateoff. Does he win the race off of pit road? Yes, he does. Just ahead of Regan, then Campbell, then Davis. And I'm kind of liking the strategy call for a couple of these drivers who were able to make newer tyres work a little while ago, like Davis. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, I think you've got to say that Lateoff is still looking pretty, although this is going to be the first time today, Adam, that Lateoff is going to have to deal with traffic.
Yeah, and he's going to have a couple cars up here with some older rubber. He's going to have to try to get through these guys first, assuming they don't come down pit road here. I mean, it could very well be a strategy move on these guys, just to kind of be in the back of the pack here and let whatever happens, because obviously we're going to be coming to a green flag with, I'm going to guess about 13 to go. And indeed, see Bonwell stay out. Okay, so these are the cars that are lapped down, coming down pit road now. So very likely these guys are actually going to stay out. Not only do they have old rubber, they got a little bit of damage as well.
Yeah, so we saw Bonwell, Seaman, and McFadden are going to lead the field back to green, but even just having those older tyres, and let's be honest, they haven't quite been on pace tonight with the leaders, although Bonwell was earlier on, but he's picked up damage since then. I just have a feeling they're going to have a hard time on this restart coming up.
See these guys already weaving around trying to get things cleaned up. Light's still on the pace car, so we are going to go around at least one more time here. In fact, I do think that'll be just one more time.
Still 20 cars on the lead lap, so a lot of risk for these drivers if this strategy backfires on them. A lot of positions that they could drop back. That being said, we mentioned there's only 17 drivers racing for points in this series. 12 of them will make it into the playoffs, and a lot of the drivers on the outside looking in have not exactly been, regular contenders during the series. So the exciting thing about that for us is not a lot of these drivers are always too concerned with points racing. They're just here for the wins, trying to get as many points as they can for when the playoffs come around.
Those will be here before you know it. I mean, all these seasons. I mean, Sam, we're going to be in June tomorrow. Where is this year going, man?
That's June in England.
This is true.
Although I will point out, I was doing the research earlier today. For the last 2 months, I have lived in America longer than England. So I am now more American than I ever was British.
Just got to fix the accent.
Yeah, we need to get the British accent back a bit. All right. The lights are off on the pace car. We're going to have a 13-lap shootout if it goes green all the way to the end, which I'm starting to doubt. Bonwell, controlling the field, has been in the wall a couple of times tonight. Seaman really haven't been able to see his pace. He does have a bit of damage on that number 99 car, but at the same time, he had a penalty early on that probably set him back from whatever strategy he was planning. Mark McFadden, I don't think we've mentioned him at all today. He'll be restarting third in that 48. But the two drivers I'm really going to want to keep an eye on are Brett Laitoff, the second car on the high side, and Richard Regan Jr. He's the third car on the inside in that red and grey car. Which of those can navigate their way through these three drivers on older tyres first could very well be the winner of tonight's race.
I think Brett Laitoff might try to take it 3 wide here in turn 1, so watch him close.
Bonwell gets on the loud pedal, spins the tyres. So does Seaman. Ladewell is going to have to go 3 wide, and he does get a nice jump over Regan, who's boxed in. Regan is kind of in the middle of a 3 wide scenario back here. Bonwell leads them into the first turn. Laderhoff already up to second with momentum. And Rubber on his side, down low, into the lead goes Laidhoff. That didn't take barely any time at all.
I didn't get that real big 3 wide push I was expecting for thanks to the spun tires, but man, you're already seeing those cars with newer tires up front. And Gerald Campbell, now is clear of them as well, but so is Richard Reagan and William Davis, and also Andrew Payne. This is a good chance for them to try to separate themselves out a little bit.
Yes, so Regan, not the one able to take a fight to Laidhoff there. Regan did not get a great restart as a result. Campbell able to get by. William Davis thinking about trying to get third place. Andrew Payne, boy, man, this guy has definitely had an interesting race. And into the wall once again goes Bonwell. Not the first time tonight. Hopefully the rest of the drivers are able to avoid him. Adam Eisenhower also slow on the back straight, but they stay green for now.
Yeah, one thing to mention, we've been talking about how strong he's been working himself back up through the field with Richard Reagan, is when those tires are spun in front of him, he got into whoever that was in front of him. I got to go back and look, but he's got a little damage up on his front air dam. We're going to have to see if that's going to affect his performance at all now.
4 wide on the front straight with John Theodore going underneath 3 more cars, and they're going to back out of it and kind of filter themselves to 2 wide by the time they got to turns 1 and 2. John Theodore trying to make up for lost ground early on. Adam Eisenhower very loose into the wall. No caution, they're all staying pointing the right way for now, or at least the cars that are still on the racetrack are.
Some hard hits back there from McFadden and also Eisenhower.
Yeah, McFadden, one of those 3 drivers who opted to stay out. Adam Eisenhower's just been struggling a bit ever since he got involved in an incident earlier today. It's just must have thrown that car off balance a little bit.
Hey, don't look now, but Gerald Campbell slightly faster than Ladoff.
Yeah, I'm starting to notice this too. I wonder if Campbell has just been trying to play the waiting game all race on. Boy, it's 3-wide battle for fourth place going on right now. Payne up high. In the middle is Stanford. Down low is Regan, and Stanford might come out with this. Stanford up high, getting very close. He's not giving Regan a whole lot of room down there. It's going to turn against him. They're turning sideways, 3 of them, and that brings out the yellow.
Well, if Regan didn't have any front end damage for sure before, he does now.
This is going to set us up for a shootout to the end here. As we mentioned, this series does do green-white checkered, so we could have another caution.
The 6th place car, the 5th place car, the 4th place car, the 7th place car all ended up in that melee right there. That's a lot of front runners taken out. Very matter of just a second or two. Watch aboard here with Mark Claywell. Hearing he had a pretty good view of this out his front windshield. Pretty sure it's a view he didn't want to see, as far as worrying if one of those cars was going to come back at him, and indeed ended up having to try to get around Andrew Payne right there in that 93 car. But he does gain 4 spots, just no time flat.
Yeah, well, Payne is still running in fourth place, but he has a lot of damage on that 93 machine. I have a feeling he's going to want to come in. The leaders, I can't imagine it's worth gambling with only a few laps on their tyres, but do they think otherwise? They faked. Oh, and Andrew Payne stays out. Richard Regan Jr., the first one to come in.
I think Andrew is counting on here just being a short race once we get the green flag again, and hopefully not going to lose that many spots, but his front end is all tore up.
Yeah, that was a lead lap car spitting that time by, so I have a feeling we got a couple more laps of yellow. That being said, we're going to take a quick one more break here on the GSRC so we can catch our breath. We'll be back for the restart with Ladoff leading Campbell, Davis, Payne, and Clairwell. Don't go away. 4 laps left to go. Once again, this series does do green-white checkers. We'll get in more detail about that if we see the yellow fly within the next 3 laps. If these drivers make it to the white flag, iRacing doesn't concern itself anymore. You're racing to a checker. Nice thing, you don't have to worry about driver safety on this thing. So Lederhoff leading them back to the green once again, ahead of Gerald Campbell, Will Davis, Andrew Payne. Now, all these drivers on the same strategy. The driver you might want to keep half an eye out on for the wrong reason is Andrew Payne, because he has a lot of damage now on that number 93 machine. And I don't know, do you think we're about to see a green-white checker there, Adam? I've got a hunch.
I do. I don't think we're going to get through the next couple laps clean. But Brett Ladoff, though, he's going to get a good start here. He's going to try to run away. It's going to happen in mid-pack.
Yeah, Ladoff has been in control of the field all day long.
Campbell switched the tires.
Yeah, Ladoff did it a little bit. Campbell did it a lot.
Ooh, and Andrew Payne really squeezing down Mark Clowell there on the front stretch, but give each other room going into 1.
Yeah, I think Payne is already maybe starting to struggle with that front end damage on his machine. He's just got to see it out for a few more miles. You see his 93 car was pushing up to the wall on the exit of turn 2 there.
When somebody has a minute, try to figure out where William Davis came from, because, wow. I mean, started this race in 23rd spot, and he's up to 2nd.
Yeah, it must be said he didn't turn in qualifying time. He got up front through that strategy call earlier. He was one of those drivers who took newer tyres during the middle of his 3rd stage and made it work for him. Then when the whole field came down for new tyres, he came in, joined them, and
almost had that caution. Jeff Martin came across the nose of Andrew Payne. They touched, but Jeff Martin able to get it together back up, and that's creating a hornet's nest here as they go into 3. Spin on the backstretch. Looks like they're off the racetrack, trying to see who that is. Josh Bonwell hard into the inside wall.
That might be his day done. This group is getting heavy as they come with 2 laps left to go.
Ellery Queen is in this group too, and he's not without front end damage. The car spinning down the front straight now.
That's why the league organizer, Gary Sexton, spinning in the infield, but once again off the racing line, no yellow. So, Ladoff leads. We've been talking about Davis, how he's came to the front. The fact he's came to the front, we haven't seen him all day long. Campbell is only back in 3rd right now because of a bad restart. Problem is, if Campbell starts racing Davis hard for 2nd place, neither of them are going to get Ladoff on this last lap.
And they get to the white flag here?
Well, Ladoff makes it. There we go. White flag in the air. This race will finish in just under 2 miles, 40 seconds time. Ladoff using the high line. The problem is Davis, even though he's going to be washing out without that wind hitting the front of his car, holding it down in the turns, he'll be able to get a nice run on Ladoff here. It's really going to come down to how they exit turn 3 and 4. However,
on its lid on the backstretch, we'll get to it after the flag.
Yeah, big calamity down the back straight. We'll grab a replay of that later. But I have a feeling a lot of crew chiefs are about to get laid off because Brett Ladoff has smoked them all here today at Michigan. A nice win for the driver of a number 91 car.
As soon as he broke free from that pack, it was just smooth sailing. And I think he was doing a lot of managing his equipment there, Sam, right at the end of that race, because I think he knew he didn't have the best handling car, but he was just doing what he needed to do just to keep Davis and Campbell out behind him. And it ended up being exactly what needed to happen.
All right, so here's a replay of a big incident that happened on down the back straight on the last lap. 62 is Michael D'Amico. He got involved in it heavily. I believe the 15 of Jeff Martin may have been involved in the initial contact there.
Hard hit.
Yeah, quite a lot of torn up cars, unfortunately, to finish this race. I've got to be honest, Ladoff is probably one of the cars that finished this race without...
And that car that we saw make contact with him that flew off to the side, ended up on its lid, that was Eric Stanford, whose day went from bad to worse.
Yeah, 3 drivers finished this race without a single incident point. 2 of them were Brett Laidhoff and Gerald Campbell, and they finished in first and third. That shows you how staying out of trouble can get you the finish up front. Unfortunately, the third one of those was John Lyday, who I think may have had some kind of problem earlier on in the race, and that dropped him a lap down by the end of 19th place. We'll come back with a full race rundown as well as driver interviews here on the GSRC. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back here to the Michigan International Speedway, where we just witnessed 100 laps of racing action here for the 10th round of the AdPro 360 Challenger Series. A lot of cars unfortunately ended up making 360s by the end of the race. The driver left making 360s over on the start-finish line when it was all said and done, doing some celebratory donuts, was that Brett Laidhoff. He absolutely had control of this race from the drop of a green flag, even though he started in 4th. We're talking about drivers not starting up front though. William Davis came all the way from 23rd to finish in 2nd, ahead of Gerald Campbell, who started 2nd, dropped back to 3rd. Mark Clawell came home with a 4th place finish, just half a second behind our race winner. Mark Jackson rounded out the top 5. Nice race for him, didn't mention him a whole lot. Similar story for Scott Seaman back in 6th place, ahead of John Theodore. Boy, he was involved in some great racing out there today. Theodore comes home in 7th, ahead of Ellery Queen, Andrew Payne and Richard Regan, rounding out the top 10 after an earlier penalty.
Yeah, 6 out of your top 10 started outside the top 10. There you go. Jeff Martin finishing 11th. Jeremy Crandall coming home in 12th. Robert McFarland and Adam Eisenhower, both of them running their fair share of problems, 13th and 14th. Mark McFadden in 15th. Michael Dullard in 16th. And Michael D'Amico, of course, we saw his problem there on the last lap, along with Eric Stanford, who went for a ride. They're going to come home in 17th and 18th. John Loday in 19th and Gary Sexton in 20th.
Yeah, and then rounding out our field at the bottom there was Kyle Kemmer. These drivers all about 2 laps down here. Trey Galgan, Josh Bonwell, Mike Donahue, and Danny Rogers involved in early trouble there today. All right, let's try and talk to some of our top finishers. We've got our third place finisher, Gerald Campbell, here. And Gerald, you had a strong race up front there, but Brett Latoff, he definitely had pretty much a flawless performance up front. Did you have anything for him in those closing stages?
You know, I thought maybe in my head I was playing out if I could just get a run on him on the outside on that last restart. I didn't even let myself get into that predicament. I screwed myself up pretty good with that tire spin. And was luckily enough, strong enough to at least hold off for third. I was definitely a second-place car for most of the race, but even at the end, I wasn't going to give it to him. I was gonna bite the nail and try to dig as hard as I could. And he just, like you said, drove a flawless race. I mean, very rarely did he mess up off the line, and those times that he did, I wasn't anywhere close enough to be able to capitalize. So he would just constantly gain on the longer runs, and it was fun. It was fun. He was fast tonight, that was for sure.
Strategy definitely became a big talking point there in the closing laps, trying to work out how many laps you all had on your tires, and who you were racing around, if you needed to be wary of certain drivers ahead of you. Are there any regrets you have with your strategy? Do you think there's anything you could have done differently with that regards?
No, I mean, my strategy was, I mean, it's just so difficult to pass around here. Even if a car is a couple tenths, 3 tenths slower than you a lap, it will take you 2 or 3 laps just to go around that guy, and then the next guy, and then the next guy. So my whole strategy was there would have to be at least 6 to 7 green flag laps in a row for me to go down pit road to make it worth my while. And we just had a period of cautions where it was only within a couple laps of green, and it just wasn't worth going and put myself back there in that position. And as you saw, a lot of cars got torn up, and even a door ding, which I'm proud of. This is like, I think, my first race. I haven't even gotten a scratch on the car. So it couldn't happen at a more important racetrack. I mean, Michigan, like I was saying, I mean, if you go back there, you get a scratch on the car, you lose a tenth down the straightaway. So I just had to make sure I wasn't going to put myself in that position trying to pass a whole bunch of slower cars just to work my way back up to be right behind the 91 again. So, my strategy was just plain simple. Just try to capitalize when I could, stay up front as much as I possibly could. I'm pretty well known, I guess, from coming to the back to the front. That's no way in shape my intentions. I want to be up front like the 91 one was all night, but this, next race we'll go get them. I don't know what the next race is, but I'm looking forward to every race that this series has. I was hoping for a 4-wide finish at the finish line there. It was looking like it was going to be there. I was hoping 11 would have gave him a little bit of a tap to make it to where we would have had a drag race at the checker flag, but just clean racing all around. So it was fun.
Yeah, Chicagoland is going to be in our next race in a couple of laps' time. Gerald, you were talking about how clean your race were. You and Brett were actually the only 2 drivers left on the lead lap there who didn't accumulate an incident point all race long. So kudos on that. We've seen you already take the checkered flag twice this season. Look forward to seeing if you can do it a third time in 2 weeks' time at Chicagoland.
Yeah, I seem to have a good record on the 1.5 miles, so I'm looking forward to going back to the 1.5 miles. I like flat tracks more, so I'm looking forward to whenever we go to New Hampshire or something. But in this series, it plays out at the end. You don't know who's going to win. It could be the most dominating guy, or it could be the guy that slips up on the final lap, and then all of a sudden you're 3 wide at the finish line. So real quick, I just wanted to thank the vets out there. My sponsor on the cars, VFW. I always say thank the vets. It's a firm believer for me that you should thank a vet, even if it's not Memorial Day or anything like that. If you see a vet, you should always thank them for their service. And then a swift ride home and safe for my wife that's on an airplane ride back over to here. She usually watches the race, and she was on an airplane flight, so she couldn't be able to watch it. But hopefully she gets home soon. She's she's my biggest advocate and supporter of me in my racing. So having her watching the race for Chicago, maybe race a little bit harder, maybe. But then again, this first race I haven't scratched it, so maybe racing a little harder. Maybe I should just tone it down, maybe just a hair. But great finish overall. So look forward to it. Look forward to hearing the recap of this race. You guys do a fantastic job.
All right, and that was our 3rd place finisher, Jarrell Campbell. Once again, a 2-time winner so far this season. He'll be looking for his 3rd in a couple of weeks' time at Chicagoland. Finishing just a couple of tenths behind Tim Adam. You've caught up with Mark Clewell.
Yeah, of course, Mark Clewell here. Mark coming home in 4th, and pretty eventful 4th place finish for Mark. Mark saw quite a bit out of his windshield. Mark, hey, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your day.
Well, we were in our typical tire saving mode for the first couple stages there, and like you said, had a couple incidents throughout the race that I had to avoid. I was glad to get through them, and I was hoping I could run the leaders down a little better with better tires, but it just wasn't happening.
How big of a role did tires play for you guys there? I mean, it seemed like there was just a bunch of ill-handling race cars right there in the last couple laps.
I thought the tires for me would be a lot better to get me to the front better, but I guess it was the same for everybody, and they just fell off so much fairly equally. I mean, I heard guys during the race saying what percentages they had left after pit stops, and I always had 3 to 5% more, but I still just lost too much track position, I guess, and just couldn't run them down towards the end of the stages there.
Well, of course, this being your 5th top 5 finish here of the season, where does this rank amongst your other top 5s, though? It just felt like just a heck of a drive from you.
Yeah, this is not one of my more favorite tracks, so I'll take a 4th place. I'm happy with that. I always want to win, but I'll take the 4th, and I guess it ranks pretty high because I wasn't really expecting to get a top 5, and it almost didn't look like I was going to get it until the last couple incidents there.
Well, Mark, hey, good job today. Anybody you'd like to thank here real quick?
Yeah, once again, my teammates in this race, Kyle Kammer, Eric Stanford, they got a little couple incidents that I had to avoid there, and Team Aegis, Andrew Freenage, David Washington, Dylan Jones, Daniel Eberhardt, Carl Shedd, all them guys really help out and make us faster every time we race them. So definitely got to thank them guys.
Well, Mark, hey, good job today, and we'll catch up with you later. Have a good night. And I think Sam is going to go ahead and catch up with our race winner. Took a little bit to get here, but Brett is here now. Sam?
Yeah, first off, congratulations, Mr. Latoff.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed racing with these guys when I get a chance to. I'm pretty limited when I get a chance to run league stuff, but that's my choice to come to when I get some free time.
Yeah, I'm going to say, is this your first race with these guys overall or with the Challenger Series? Not quite familiar with your name.
Yeah, I've run I think 1 or 2 on the Cup side, and I got home late. I knew Gary had something going on. I try to get in here when I can and help him out. So come in here and raced. It was fun.
Did you expect to have the performance that you did out there today? It looked like you were absolutely in control of the field all race long, or was that just a product of clean air?
I think with these cars, I feel like clean air is pretty important, but you don't really need it to make moves. It's not like the Cup cars. So we've seen a lot of guys come up there in a second and third, and it was entertaining to watch. From my point of view, at least. I got out there to lead early, and I knew how many laps we had to go, and I haven't raced this car at this track and this setup configuration, I just haven't run it a lot, and so I wasn't sure what to do with tires and what to save and what not to save. And of course, the first segment, I think I had a 2.2 second lead when we took the yellow there. So I knew I was doing something right. I tried some different things throughout the race. I kind of come back to it at the end there.
How concerned were you after that pit stop late on in the going that dropped you back to, I believe it was about 4th place on the restart when you had 3 drivers stay out on the older tires? You probably knew that you had the pace over them. How concerned were you with the traffic that they would create on the restart and also the dirty air going through turns 1 and 2?
Yeah, you had to get your left front kind of situated there going into 1 to get yourself some clean air in the left front, get you turned down and through the bottom. I knew on that restart there we took tires. I think it was 12 to go, something like that. I made a decision I was gonna stay out, and I thought, well, let's just come down and get tires. We've been out here for about 15 laps, and I took tires, and I knew those guys that on the restarts, these cars, they tend to, if your tires are wore, they tend to take off to the right, and I knew that I had a pretty good shot at getting through there pretty quick. I didn't expect to be taking a lead off turn 2 on the restart, so I kind of got there and got a little excited and decided I was going to try and drive a little harder, and it didn't really work out for me, but I got back going, and it all worked out.
Absolutely. Will we see you, do you think, in 2 weeks' time back at Chicagoland?
Yeah, if they let me. I just depends on my schedule and what's going on. I'm going to try to make the next Cup race here. Gary really wants me to do that. And I get real busy with other stuff, and so I jumped on here. I mean, I made qualifying it. I was 12 minutes late to that, so we'll see. We'll see what these guys decide. If I get a chance to, I definitely would race with them again. I love racing with them. Everybody's respectful and clean, and there's a lot of stuff that the viewers don't hear. We're talking back and forth with people. Sorry, I messed up. Guys, you don't get that a lot, so it's pretty nice to race with that group of guys.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Brett, and congratulations on your win.
Thanks, guys. I want to thank my guys, Tony Stewart Racing, SimSide. We do a lot of work with those guys. Pretty lucky to be involved in that little group. Gary, Dirty Air Studios. These guys that put this league on. It's just, I've said from the get-go, they do it right, and I'm blessed to even get to race with them. So, and thank you guys as well. You guys do an awesome job up in the booth. Sorry, it was kind of a snoozer, but we'll get some better ones out there for you.
Maybe in the snooze up front, there's a pretty exciting midfield to give you a heads up when you go back to watch a broadcast later. All right, so that was your race winner, Brett Ladoff. And am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Brett? Just before you go there,
it works for me. It's been pronounced a lot of different ways, and throughout my years of racing, I've had it. I mean, a funny story. I had it pronounced 4 different ways in one heat race at a local track. So you're pretty close. So I don't really get too bent out of shape about it. It could be a lot worse. So no, you guys did good. I really appreciate you guys' hard work.
All right, so that was our race winner there, Brett. I'll just call him for now. Adam, this was your first time covering the AdPro 360 Challenger Series with me here on the GSRC. And that's what Brett called a snoozer. So if that gives you any indication of what we get to enjoy during this series, but boy, there's something else out there.
Yeah, plenty of racing up front and through the field. I mean, yeah, Brett led most of the way tonight, but at the same time, I mean, just behind him is when things got exciting. And it was fun to see those guys try to keep pace with him, too. But good Michigan race, that's for sure.
And as we mentioned, our next race will be on a Wednesday in 2 weeks' time, and that will be at Chicagoland Speedway. You'll get to see all of the action live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Well, we would like to thank the people and organizations that came together tonight to put this race, the Dirty Air Studios 200, together. Dirty Air Studios is an iRacing media production company that provides top-of-the-line professional videos, graphics, pictures, and paints for all things sim racing. Visit them at facebook.com/Dirty Air Studios. This has been a race sanctioned by the Simulated Stock Car Association. This is the AdPro 360 Challenger Series. AdPro 360 is an advertising agency that specializes in digital and social media marketing. For more information on them, go to adproresults.com. We would like to thank all of the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. There you see them listed on your screen. Additional thanks goes out to Eric.com and Casey Lalonde who provide us with our music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Joe, Dougie, and also Dre Kennedy, who was helping us out a little bit behind the scenes during tonight's broadcast. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, visit us at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at facebook.com/Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gram. All of the upcoming races for our other series are listed on screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down in your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.